I'm just going to start calling people up. And the first person I'm going to call, I'm assuming that she'll want to come up here, is Agnes. See how I pinned you down in here? You can't get up and go anywhere.
This one was just recently in Rustin Glass. It's titled My Father's Suit. The photo on the piano, Dad on his birthday in his nude art suit, his white shirt open at the collar, his face tanned and smiling. I never saw Dad in a t-shirt. He only wore button-downs, preferred long sleeves, even in summer, slacks and a sports coat. When I dressed Dad for burial, his flesh fell warm. I did not comprehend the finality of death. The nurse and I guided his arms into the shirt sleeves, relieved him of the indignity of nightgowns. We buttoned his shirt, folded his hands on his chest. I forgot to send his suit jacket with the undertaker. Next day, I carried it to the funeral home. Don't ask why. My father had a sense for beautiful details, the line of a roof, the feel of a pen in the hand. On the shore of grief, the coastline is discontinued. A chasm opens, a way across impossible. Some memories smell delicious like honeysuckle. Some memories have thorns. My typewriter in the green case is still in my parents' house. Nobody throws anything away. I hoard treasures like a dragon in a cave. Mine are invisible, stuffed inside the hollow of my heart. My map has a tear that cannot be mended. A piece is missing. The fragments won't fit together. I do not believe we meet our ancestors in heaven. I have no plans for it. Don't ask why. To call this place home. Triangular patterns of light and shadow on the water. A dragonfly lands on my kayak, stares at me with bulging green eyes, does not move its translucent wings with the black spots. In Chinese culture, dragonflies symbolize change and instability. I want neither. Next week, I will travel home to see my mother. I will climb the hill and the stairs through the garden with the old rhododendrons as I have 1,000 times. Familiar smells, familiar sights, but Dad won't be there. I wish I were not burdened with the forethought of further grief. I steer my boat through the water willows onto the bank. Low-hanging branches brush against my shoulders. Greenbrier snags my pants as I follow the faint trace up the hill to the old homestead. Only the chimney still stands. It feels stone masonry overgrown with vines. Glistening quartz veins adorn the rocks that form the mantle. Nothing else remains of the family who came here to live their dream, who called this place home.
Okay, continuing on the theme of holding the captive. Let's see, I'm going to call up Rick Christensen.
Great to be here. Wonderful, wonderful. Thank you guys. Wow. Just, you know, you go to some readings and you're changed. And that doesn't always happen. And he promised me, drive 4 hours round trip to get here today. He's like, do it. I did it. I'm glad. Saw some of you Friday night at Pages Pacific. I'm going to read the same 3 from my new manuscript tonight. But for those of you who were not there, these are new. So this first one, I'm going to call this a charcoal sketch of hospice care. It's just this little tiny piece of hospice. And it's called Annie 2022. The whimper is like releasing steam from a boiler. Incremental pressure, dropping, joints relax as they flex. Pain too big to feel all at once, needs too large to capture in the boundaries of a moment, desire and irritation, an itch. She spasmodically plucks at the loose skin on the back of her hand, feels the weight of the blankets, toes tented at the foot of the bed. He watches her stare at the button on the morphine pump, sees her calculating her equation, trying to reconcile relief with lucidity. Thank you. This next one, I'm still not sure I understand it. It's a folk tale, I guess. It's weird, and it's anti-war, I guess. It's anti-violence, and it's about bearing witness, because that's what we all need to do. The only way we're ever going to stop the violence in this world is if we attend to it, not just ignore it. So this is called Borrowed Blood, and it is a haiku. The artist wandered the Polish wilderness. His art was born from borrowed blood. He followed hunters, men who saw him as an oddity, a specter haunting their trails. In the crisp air of the East Carpathians, he traced the paths of their kills, the blood of deer, boar, and sometimes wolves, guiding him to his canvases. Today he trailed a pair of hunters, their rough laughter carried on the wind. He moved silently, eyes sharp, until he found the fresh blood trail of their latest quarry. He crouched beside it, dipping his brush into the crimson smears. His canvas, a piece of white linen stretched over a frame, leaned against a tree. With deliberate strokes, the artist painted the scene of the hunt. The blood added a raw, visceral quality to his work, a macabre beauty that ink or paint could never capture. His hands moved with an urgency, a reverence, as if each stroke was a prayer. The forest was his cathedral, and the blood, immortalized in shades of red and brown, was his faith. Completed, he leaves the canvas at the base of the tree. The hunters would find it come morning, as they always did, and wonder at the ghost who followed them. They never knew his name. Murders of crows watch, satisfied with the outcome. Thank you. Okay, and the last one I'll do, this is about getting old. What happens as you get old is your friends start dying. And you have to find a way to wrap your head around that. You have to find a way to move on. And this is a poem about that, and it is called The Honesty of Women. I like the honesty of women. I have discovered that as my male friends slowly die off. I find myself with empty slots in my batting lineup. Nobody is left to play third base. I need the play of conversation. I need to defend my opinions. I find my own boundaries by bumping into those of others. Older men can shrink from intimacy, unless it has grown unheeded like a weed in the backyard of a long-term acquaintance. We surprise even ourselves with the disclosure of our secrets, blurted during the third beer and only after the new sports season has been argued and put to bed. The contents of our souls are guarded, locked away until years of friendship have eroded the tumblers of the mechanism and a key fits in. And these old dogs are dying, and I'm still here. And I still crave that connection. And I cannot wait years to build that shed of trust with other men. So I like the honesty of women. Thank you very much.
unfortunately. But it only accelerates. All right. Thank you, Rick. I'm glad you made the trip, man. Really, really appreciate it. I appreciate you.
I appreciate this community. You guys, you add to my life in a way that I could have never imagined.
Well, likewise. I appreciate you being here. I'm sure everyone else does, and all of you. But, all right. Let's call up Brenda if Brenda has something, if she wants to come up there. All right. No? All right. Sold American. Then we're going to call again.
Sorry about that alarm, Rick. I've had the phone for 2 months and I keep forgetting the fact I can't just dismiss the alarm in advance. I have to cancel it for the day or it'll ring anyway.
It makes me feel like I'm reading in a bar. It worked.
Yeah. I'm sorry about that.
No problem.
Okay,
You need to do what I do and Ken, just drop them on the floor.
John has stated more than once that he would appreciate it if we would read someone else's poetry. And so I did last month, and I'm going to read another one from the same poet, Robert Osage. He's in Indianapolis. I've known him for years. And he does a series of poems. He has several chapbooks, and he has a new one coming out, I believe in July of next year. Actually, that's how far in advance it's booked. And he has scarecrow poems. He writes these poems in the voice of the scarecrow, having conversations, one-sided conversations with the crows around him about life, about politics, about anything. Scarecrow dances. A case of the almost tapping into the deed. A dance in daylight, but never on stairs nor in countable patterns. The wind and birds, my only partners. When the left arm twitches counter to the right, my hands frisk. My head swivels with the breeze, catching my feet on point. A moment endured in humor. Luther Robinson switched names with his brother Bill and became Bojangles. But my brothers remained nameless and silent, flapping without desire or intent. Why am I as I am, born of no mother, stitched and stuffed, never nurtured but left to become this fluttering entity, thinking, always thinking, whirling, flowing rhythmically in sequence, in time to unheard music? No one answers me, but for now, I dance. So that's Robert Osage. Okay, I'm going to read 2 poems for what I objectively consider to be the best poem to come out from Spartan Press in the last 90 days. Mine. And other all nature-centric poems. So, Shifting Shroud. Morning's damp river companion, deceptively serene, mutes, silently shifts shapes and sounds. Light diffused, images confused, concealing, revealing visions, real, imagined. Echoes absent distortion in direction, stranded sounds surrounding a seeming silence. Reality returns with rising sun, tendrils, fingers, wisps withdraw with morning air. Thank you. Immersion. Regarding Jupiter, his piercing stare challenging those struggling for his attention in the ebony, enveloping them, enveloping me in warmth and thoughts of the land. My drone, random in direction, the beauty of purpose, a welcoming arc in their form. Relationship and a bond of choice, oak embracing granite, each wrapped oblivious to their surroundings. Spanish moss gracing decay on the edge of a forest of life and decay, defining time and serenity. Bay leaves whispering under footfalls, announcing my arrival to the guardians. A sphinx, awaiting a gathering of poets under a canopy of towering giants. Insignificance beneath those giants, wedded to a need to share the peace this moment provides. The grace of art as temporal as its surroundings, honoring its surroundings. Fallen titans, announcing to visitors, take what you will from this experience. Even in our impermanence, we are truly permanent. So I have a friend in California who has a piece of practical she calls it the land. Margaret, she's in her 90s and she still tends it. She cuts the grass by hand and all of that. It's redwoods and Doug firs, and she has art installations all through this thing. And it's beautiful. I spent a couple nights there. So that was that. And, okay. Random riffs. And what random riffs are is something I started writing a few years ago as I'm traveling. I take into account what I see, where I'm going, and music. It started out with music coinciding with my thoughts, and so I weave them in and out. And I've done quite a few with jazz pieces. Driving off minor. Monk spars with Coltrane, weaves around and through him. They roll along amid lightning strikes that illuminate the dark sky. Mist rises from the road's surface in this dusk of mid-afternoon on a gray April day, with light rain that is reflected, multiplied, rises to join that mist from the tires of passing cars before joining the sheen of the road's surface in my headlights. The sky before me opens to reveal a road not so dark and hazards behind me. Monk's piano never off, minor discordance trails off to better roads. So. My Wyoming poems, I wrote that, when we were driving. A lot of you know that story. Okay, so this past week we drove to the Finger Lakes and spent 3 days with my children, 2 sons and a daughter and their families. They booked Airbnb, this giant cabin, about 3,000 or 4,000 square feet, and we spent 3 days together. So yeah, it was great. Ad-lib blues. Over 900 miles on the road. Time, a precious commodity. Interstate the price. Tedium and poles. South of Canandaigua, throughway behind us. Contentment on country roads between forested hills. Ski slopes to the right. Wait for snow. Our destination opposite. At the end of a winding road. Lester Young on sax sounds far from blue, layered. Oscar Peterson coaxing the piano to the front. We walk into a house filled with voices, family gathered, conversation in layers. Ad-libs, non sequiturs, laughter, the joy of being together. A guitar is the sunlight pouring into the well of windows on this summer weekend. The delight echoed in the voices of grandchildren. Sax and piano dance through our days together, the only blues coming in as they wind down and we make our separate ways home.
I don't know where Jason.
He's right
There
there.
he is.
He's hiding from
I didn't know where you'd gotten off to.
He's gonna do a really big entrance.
Oh, don't let me get in the way of that.
No, okay.
Like you're gonna come out kicking like a rocket. Like,
David
so-
Rock,
Yeah, do
Sis
that.
Kicking here.
All right.
And no.
All right. Well, okay. Well, then I'm gonna let you introduce yourself, Jason Reberg.
No David Lee Ross style scissor kick.
Well, I'm waiting for Ray Sweeney pirouette.
Oh, those were pretty fun. I forgot that he was doing like a twirl, like Ray was.
So I want to see that. That's a request.
It's really
I'll work on it.
I want to see a jumping spinning back.
I want one of those online greeting cards that's just Ray twirling in there somehow.
Gotta make a meme of Ray twirling and then send it out as happy birthday stuff for people. He's spectacular.
This one is for all the truck drivers in the room. called Snowflakes. True night having finally arrived and settled into this leg of our long cross-country haul, all cold black infinitudes and the Lovecraftian expanses of time, the headlights of the truck barely illuminating the road ahead. No signs of civilizations anywhere, and I swear the wind has been alternately whispering and roaring its bleak sermon for days now. And somehow I'm still working on the same foot-long truck stop sub, still nursing on the same 20-some-odd ounce cup of cold truck stop mud. Funny how with the right amount of faux dairy creamer stuff, it tastes faintly of burnt popcorn. But at least the low-hanging cloud cover has finally rolled on, the stars have all rolled out, and there's a guy on the radio now going on and on about the various health benefits that come from consuming coral calcium deposits. Marine grade, by the way, which apparently include, but are by no means limited to, curing any and all forms of cancer, living to 120 years of age, and most amazingly, the ability to grow a new brain. And on that last ringing note with vivid mental image, we seem to have arrived at one of those moments where, who knows, maybe the planets and the stars are aligned just right. One of those moments when it's perfectly appropriate and all right to ask of the night, the stars, the spirits of your ancestors, or whoever may be sitting next to you, what's it all about? As in the big it. The very it from which all rivers and roads allegedly issue forth, and thereby must eventually inevitably return to, and within which all the myriad archetypes and things are contained, and are each in their own way ultimately of and about, aren't they? And it feels somehow like we started out on this trip weeks ago, months even. The whole thing, a grainy, late show starring some second-rate Hope and Crosby, Laurel and Hardy, Martin and Lewis, Kerouac and Cassidy, but really more likely the 21st century American answer to Rosencrantz and Guildenstern. A couple of luckless chuckleheads suddenly thrown by wild circumstance onto the road with little more than the clothes on their backs and the coins in their pockets. More than just a little bit out of depth of their depth and out of step with the various machinations at work around them. But now it's starting to feel like maybe the wind is settling down a little. And the stars are burning even brighter all around us in the cold night sky, yes, like fireflies, like Christmas lights. And then from out of the murky, undersea-like darkness of the Illinois night, there to our right by the side of the road, a giant cross comes slowly looming and more than a little ominously into view. Larger and larger, like the Death Star from Star Wars, tractor beaming the Millennium Falcon of our rental truck closer and closer, 100 feet tall at least, and all lit up with Klieg lights for what must surely be the Lord's gloriously apocalyptical world reunion tour. And not some British-sounding news guy on some other, shall we say, more standardized and accountable radio program is reporting live from around the world, Greenwich Mean Time, if you didn't know, recapping a few of the day's major headlines. Astronomers say they found a miniature version of our own solar system only 5,000 light years away. In Israel, a woman believed to be the world's oldest person celebrated her 120th birthday today. And for the first time in living memory, snowflakes are falling on Baghdad. Hey man, did he just say snowflakes? I'll never inflict a British accent on any of you.
Please don't.
I'm so sorry.
Jack Penny.
So sorry.
I'll do it.
Okay, sorry.
But, all right. One of the things that I'm most proud of recently is everywhere I've been going lately, I've told people, like, if you're going to read some poems, you should pick at least one piece by somebody else, because I get sick of a lot of the self-absorption that comes with going poetry reading. And so I'm really proud of the fact that now people have kind of taken it upon themselves, At least if it's a reading they know I'm going to be at, so maybe so I don't scold them. They started to read pieces by other people. Tyler Chapman's really big on that now. But Caden had wanted me to read something while I was in here today, and I'm going to do that, but it's not anything of mine. Since I know that Victor would have loved to have been here, I'm going to read 2 poems of his that are in this chapbook that Scott Ladotti just put together called The Aching Season. This is a poem called, I've read this at Pages in Pacific, but I don't even think I mentioned the title when I read it, I just went into it. But it's a poem called Virginity Lost. Yes, there is a possibility that our innocence will be lost in the inferno, darling. Pressed tightly against you, we breathe only when we push back, separate, and gasp. We breathe only when we push back, separate, and gasp. Yes, there is a possibility that our innocence will be lost in the inferno, darling. Yes, there is. Yes, there is. And I am not scared at all. Like they say, we should be. Young burning love, forever carrying our bag of ash and bones. And I know that if you look in this book, these are some sort of form, and Victor has explained to me what it is, but he's a much smarter man than me, and I can't remember. This is the title poem. It's called The Aching Season. After 3 days of melting, the ground is the color of a rotten tooth. The assailant says not to expect much improvement. Tonight the temperature will drop to near 0. And I wonder how many shots of lidocaine it will take to numb a man until spring. Winter blues, like a heavy coat, 2 sizes too small. Victor Clevenger, Jason is currently putting together the Victor omnibus edition that is going to be, what is that, like 500 pages?
It'll be able to stop bullets with that thing.
Well, I'm sure Victor can,
At
that'll come
prison.
in handy with him,
That's right.
so yeah.
March in with a bunch of distracting.
Yeah, that's true. And, as I always put you on the spot, once Kate feels like she's ready, I think you guys need to have a conversation. I did the same thing with Ken. I do with anyone whose work I like, and I make you do
As long as
things.
you buy me a beer and a shot.
Oh, you got it.
That's
You
my
got
price.
it. You're cheap.
Yes, pretty much.
Yeah, you got it.
And he does good work.
Yeah. Spoil them with those kind words. All right. I'm going to call John up, but before I do that, does anyone else want to come up here that I haven't called? I feel like an auctioneer. All right. All right, then without further ado, I will call up John Clayton.
I think he always calls on me last so that people can leave.
No, I call on you last so that you can take your time.
Okay. Hey, John. Well, as these ideas have kind of advanced, it's becoming harder and harder. If I read one vet poem, which I pledged to do, because I don't want you to forget us, and then we read one of somebody else's. I'll only read 3 poems usually when I do this. So I'm going to do that. I'm going to read 2 that are not mine. Well, actually, one's a vet poem, and then one's not mine, and then one is mine. And I've never heard her read it anywhere, but I'm going to read it. Because
She hasn't read it, I probably don't know it.
it's called Wings. All my life, I've come in second daughter, second choice, if chosen at all. More often, I've been the blisters accepted from digging for gold, the cost, not the treasure, burden, not blessing. But you chose me, pulled me in under your wing, like I always belonged there, like we were meant to be great friends, creators mapping a new world, better than having our words. You gave me worlds by inviting me in. You gave me a family by encouraging my dreams, and I can never say thank you enough to show you what it means. But I know we were meant to meet, and I know how lucky I am to know you. Luckiest of all, to be tucked beneath such powerful wings. Thank you. This piece is my vet poem for today. It's called Good Luck, Bad Luck. And if you don't know about, and probably Ken's the only one old enough, and I don't know of anybody here who's old enough to know this. Probably not Ken, because that makes him, I think, 4 or 5 years older than you probably.
71.
5 years older than you. Anyway, during the Vietnam War and the draft, you only had to serve 165 days in the country. Now you could serve more if you chose to do that, but that's all you had to serve. And that's the reason that the numbers in here may mean something. It's called Good Luck, Bad Luck. Chopper noises all around. Stretchers sitting on the ground. Blood seeping into the dirt. But Jimbo Crenshaw does not hurt. It's been a real hard day. Pain and death are what we pay. Going back to base camp now, with only sadness on our brow. Sitting on ammo cases, not thinking about safer places. Don't bogart that joint, my friend. Pass it over here again. Hot, wet, dirty, and tired. We lost a little soul each time we fired. Hollow eyes, exhausted faces, dink ears on bootlaces. Not for ideas, not for home, just trying to avoid a cold tombstone. Not for God or apple pie, just trying not to die. 102 days of luck to go. 247 days of luck to go. 173 days of luck to go. He ran out of luck, old Jimbo. Thank you. This piece is about my wife, who passed 3 years ago. It's called Forgiveness. When the hospitalist said she was dying, when he told her she would not live a month, her eyes flashed anger. She let go of my hand and turned her back to me. Would not talk to me for a day. I know she thought I knew and kept her in the dark. She only punished me with silence for a day, for something I had not done. She was always quick to forgive. Thank you.
Yes.
Thank you, Zach.
All right. Heather, since you just came in, would you like to read?
Sure.
I'm not last.
Do you want? No, you're not.
I'm not last.
Just 1 second.
I'll switch it up, John. No, it's just really to let you luxuriate.
If I can't give you crap, who can?
the head of K's.
So this is a piece about my father. My father only loves me when he's trying to alleviate his guilt. The first time he abandoned me, he left me because I spoke my pain out loud after he told me not to. I was at fault for causing a fuss, for drawing attention. The grown man who sexually assaulted me was not to blame. My big mouth, my lack of discretion, was to blame. I only ever spoke to my father again because my grandmother begged me to. I tried to explain to her, I tried to make her understand that my father only loves me when he's trying to alleviate his guilt. The second time he abandoned me, I was an adult. This time he blamed my mental health, my depression, my anxiety, and I still have not learned how to keep my mouth shut. Over and over, again, this man who should have been there for me and never was, he told me I was too much. You see, my father only loves me when he's trying to alleviate his guilt. I know one day I'll get a call from him on his deathbed. I don't expect an apology. I know better. I don't know if I'll take the call. I don't know if I will be able to tell him that it isn't that I was too much, but rather that he was not enough. And that only loving someone when it alleviates your guilt is the same as not loving them at all. I want impossible things from a man who will never know me and who will never get to see that I became beautiful without him.
All right. I'd like to thank Tony for doing this recording and for being gracious enough to be here almost every time. We were so fortunate to be able to use the space. I love the acoustics in here. Like I was saying earlier, we will be back in here on Saturday at 6 o'clock. We will have James Berg and Wesley Hine, and they're both from Chicago. And then a month following, we will have Tim Tarkelly here with John Freeman from Detroit. And we have a full schedule from now through November, and then even after that, we've got open mic dates. I don't have people signed to them. So just, I know Caden had asked me about going out after this to get something to eat. We have very few options here in the town of Belle. I was thinking we could go to the Mexican restaurant. And I'm mentioning that to everyone because if anyone wants to follow us over there and come to the restaurant, you're welcome to. And other than that, it's been great to have everyone. Thank you for being here. Caden has copies of her book. Please see her in regards to that. I have some old River Dog books, which I will sell you and give money to her if you're interested in that. Thank you so much. Thank you everyone for being here. It means a lot.